What does our Milky Way galaxy and ancient musical instruments have to do with our horses' hooves? Well, we just got back from an amazing trip to Greece, and we saw all sorts of amazing things. But the one thing that really was profound for me was being introduced to the Lyra. This is my daughter, Kelsey. She's holding this enchanting instrument, and it was played for us by a musician on the island of Santorini. What was amazing is as he played the notes, I literally was whisked away into the heavens. No, really. When the maestro strummed the strings, I literally saw the stars. I was awestruck to find out it's actually not the only instrument that does that. The gong used in Kundalini is also known to take the practitioners out into the stars. In fact, the Maestro say, one who plays the gong plays the universe. It's actually kind of fitting that these sounds can transport us into space, because scientists now share that the stars are also singing to us. We are literally bathed in a sea of celestial sound. Stars make music through their core, kind of like when a wind instrument has air from our breath. So you're probably thinking, okay, Jill, that sounds pretty cool, but what's it got to do with my horse? Well, this really got me to thinking, how powerful are sound waves, and individual songs, if you will, of all creation? Do they perhaps affect us in both mundane and esoteric ways? So the answer is yes. Trees actually absorb and register the shock waves of supernovas, and they record that in their tree rings. And Donald Hatch Anders shares that even tiny atoms have shrill tones dozens of octaves higher than a violin. The human body alone has trillions of cells, let alone atoms. That's an awful lot of song. And here's where it's getting even cooler. Horses would be the perfect receivers for these songs. Horses have been documented reacting to the very low frequencies and geographical vibrations. We first thought they were hearing them with their ears, but now we realize they're detecting them with their hooves. In fact, there's 3 different types of sensory receptors in the hoof that all get different information. Researchers explain it this way. The horse's foot is really a neurosensory organ, as its very rich supply of types and diversity of chemically identified nerves seem to be holding all the tissues together. This sensory input is what allows our horses to navigate all the varied terrain, even at a full gallop. Through their hooves, horses are believed to be able to detect rocks and water underneath the earth. What if they receive the song of our Mother Earth as well? Dr. Karen Hitchings suggests this is actually one of the most important factors we should consider when trimming our horse's hooves. How are our horse's feet interacting with the earth? This sensory input is transferred up through the horse's body and is vital for biomechanically correct movement. She believes that knowing how this information is coming through the body is vital for a correct trim. So we're learning that our horse's hooves are incredibly sensitive and are in constant interaction with the earth and whatever song she, the rocks, and the rivers are offering. That got me to thinking too, how would wearing a metal shoe affect that? You may have noticed that most of our old ancient instruments were made from previously living tissue. Crane bone flutes, wood and sinew and leather and drums, and the turtle shell and the horns of the lyra. This is not an accident. Sarah Weick shares in her book Tuning Your Horse that all living tissues resonate at their own specific frequency. In fact, each individual organ resonates at its own frequency. But what if this frequency is distorted in some way? Weick suggests that when 2 rhythms are discordant, like with the living tissue in the hoof and the metal of a horseshoe, injury could result. Weick says, like the strings of a musical instrument, the tissues of the lower limb on the horses have their own vibratory patterns. The metal of the horseshoe and the nails also has a vibratory pattern, one that is presumably quite different to those of the living tissues. We take shoeing so much for granted, but what kind of resonance are produced when shoe and foot are permanently joined together? So I'm thinking, could sound alone really have that much impact? Yes, I'm sure you've seen the videos of wine glasses shattering just by sound alone. And researchers had these young girls of India dance next to these plants. Just the rhythmic movement of their feet on the earth caused the flowers to bloom 2 weeks earlier than the control groups. I believe Willow was quite affected by the crystal bowls that were played for her. I believe she had healing, and she even brought back her good horsey smell. Okay, so we know that the sounds of the earth and the stars are all around us, that our horses are incredibly sensitive and ready to receive this information. So we may wish to consider the ways we may be blocking them from receiving these gifts. For more intriguing information about your horses, please join our YouTube channel and drop by bridlesofbreath.com to learn about our home study courses.